You know that feeling when you're sitting in a room full of people. Could be at work, could be a family gathering. Hell, maybe you're at a bar with buddies you've known for years and you still feel like you're watching it all through glass. Like you're there, but not really there. Like nobody actually sees you, and even if they did, they wouldn't understand what they're looking at. Yeah, I know that one too. And here's what I want you to hear right now before we go any further. You're not broken, you're not defective, and you're sure as hell not alone in feeling alone. This thing you're going through, this silent struggle where you can be surrounded by noise and still feel like you're standing in an empty room, it's one of the most common experiences men face today, and nobody's talking about it. Not really. We're all just walking around pretending we've got it together, wearing our game faces, while inside we're wondering if anyone would even notice if we disappeared tomorrow. It's like being a carpenter on a job site full of other guys, but you're the only one who can't hear what anyone's saying. You go through the motions, you nod at the right times, but you're not connected to any of it. You're just performing. And the worst part, you start thinking it's your fault, that maybe you're just not good at this whole being human thing, that everyone else got some manual you never received. So you double down on the performance, you laugh louder, you agree more, you become whatever you think people want you to be. And somehow, that just makes the loneliness worse. Listen, what you're feeling is real, it's valid, and it's not happening because you're doing life wrong. It's happening because we've built a world that's really good at keeping us busy and really bad at keeping us connected. We've got 1,000 ways to communicate and almost no idea how to actually be with each other anymore. But here's the thing, this feeling, as heavy as it is actually trying to tell you something important. It's not the enemy, it's a signal. And if you're willing to listen to it instead of just trying to make it go away, it can lead you somewhere better. That's what we're going to explore together, not with psychology textbook talk or self-help fluff, but with real, practical wisdom you can actually use. If you're looking for solid ground in a world that feels increasingly hollow, you're in the right place. Subscribe and stay with us. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about building something real. Let's get to work. So let's start with the obvious question. How the hell did we get here? How is it possible to feel more alone now than ever before when we've got more ways to connect than any generation in human history? Your grandfather didn't have a smartphone, didn't have social media, couldn't text his buddies or video chat with family across the country. But I'd bet money he felt less isolated than you do right now. Why? Because connection isn't about access, it's about depth. Think about it like this. You can own every tool in the hardware store, but if you never actually build anything with them, you're just a guy with a garage full of expensive metal. Same thing here. We've got all these tools for connection, apps, platforms, devices, but we're not building real relationships with them. We're just collecting shallow interactions and calling it friendship. You scroll through your feed and see everyone living their best life. Vacations, promotions, happy families, perfect moments frozen in time. And you're sitting there in your living room in your underwear eating cold pizza, wondering what you're doing wrong. But here's what you're not seeing. The guy who posted that photo of him smiling at his kid's baseball game, he might be going through the exact same thing you are. That picture is his performance too. We're all so busy broadcasting our highlight reels that we've forgotten how to have real conversations. The kind where you actually tell someone you're struggling, where you drop the armor for a minute and let somebody see what's really going on inside. And men, we're especially bad at this. We've been taught that strength means silence, that needing people is weakness, that a real man handles his problems alone in the dark like some kind of emotional Navy SEAL. So we do, and then we wonder why we feel like islands. But here's the kicker, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Most of the connection we're getting isn't even real. It's transactional, surface level. It's like building a house entirely out of drywall with no studs behind it. Looks fine from the outside, but there's no structure, no weight-bearing capacity. The first storm that comes through, the whole thing collapses. You can have 500 friends on Facebook and still have nobody to call at 3 in the morning when your head won't shut up. You can be in a relationship, even married, and still feel completely unseen. Because loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about not being known. And right now, most of us aren't known by anyone, including ourselves. That's the paradox, and that's where the real work begins. All right, let's dig into something that's probably going to sting a little. The person people think you are isn't actually you. You've been wearing a mask so long, you might not even realize it's there anymore. It's like work boots you've had for 10 years. They just became part of you. But that mask, that carefully constructed version of yourself you show the world, that's what's keeping you isolated. Carl Jung called this the persona, the social face we present to meet the demands of society. And look, having a persona isn't inherently bad. We all need one. You can't show up to your job or your kid's parent-teacher conference and just let it all hang out. Some level of filtering is necessary to function in the world. But here's where it goes sideways. When the mask becomes so thick, so practiced that you forget there's a face underneath it. When you perform your role so well that you lose track of who you actually are when nobody's watching. You become the dependable guy at work, the strong one in your family, the guy who's always got his shit together. And people love that version of you. They praise it. They rely on it. So you keep playing the part, even when you're dying inside. Even when that mask feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. And here's the cruel joke. The better you are at wearing it, the lonelier you get. Because nobody's connecting with you. They're connecting with your performance, and somewhere deep down, you know it. You know that if you took the mask off, if you showed people the doubt, the fear, the confusion, the sadness, they might not like what they see. They might be disappointed. They might leave. So you keep it on. You go to that party and you're on. You come home to your wife and you're on. You're with your kids and you're on. And eventually you're so used to performing that you don't even know how to be off anymore. It's like running a diesel engine that never shuts down. Eventually, something's going to seize up. The loneliness you feel in that crowded room, that's the real you, trapped behind the mask, screaming to be seen. It's the part of you that knows you're not being authentic, that knows all these interactions are surface level because you're not bringing your real self to them. And the worst part? You can't blame anyone else for this. Nobody forced you to put the mask on. You did it to survive, to be accepted, to avoid rejection. But survival isn't the same as living. And acceptance of a fake version of you isn't the same as being loved. Now we're getting to the stuff most guys don't want to look at, the stuff that's actually running the show from behind the curtain. Jung had another concept that's crucial here, the shadow. That's all the parts of yourself you've rejected, denied, or shoved down into the basement of your psyche because they didn't fit the image you wanted to project. The anger you weren't allowed to feel. The sadness that wasn't manly. The fear you had to hide. The needs you were taught to be ashamed of. All that stuff doesn't just disappear. It goes into the shadow. And from down there in the dark, it runs your life in ways you don't even realize. Here's how this plays out. You feel alone in that crowded room, partly because you're afraid of what would happen if people saw your shadow. If they saw the parts of you that are messy, needy, scared, or angry. So you keep everyone at arm's length. You keep conversations shallow. You keep relationships transactional. Because if they get too close, they might see the real you. And the real you, or at least what you believe about the real you, isn't good enough. This is the silent struggle nobody talks about. You're not just lonely because you lack connection. You're lonely because you're terrified of real connection. Because real connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability means showing the shadow. And showing the shadow feels like handing someone ammunition to destroy you. So you stay surface level. You keep the conversation on sports, weather, work, safe topics. You never go deep. And then you wonder why nobody really knows you. It's like owning a house, but only ever letting people see the front porch. They never come inside. They never see the kitchen where the real living happens. They definitely never see the basement where you've shoved all the stuff you don't want anyone to know about. But here's the thing about the shadow. The more you hide it, the more power it has. The more you try to outrun it, the faster it chases you. You can't escape yourself, brother. You can only integrate. And integration means looking at those rejected parts, the sadness, the neediness, the insecurity, the anger, not to wallow in them, not to be controlled by them, but to acknowledge them, to own them, to bring them into the light where they lose their power to control you from the dark. Because until you do that, you'll never be whole. And until you're whole, you'll never be truly known by anyone, including yourself. And unknown, you'll always be alone. All right, enough diagnosis. Let's talk about the actual work. And the work, the real work, starts in the one place most guys spend their entire lives trying to avoid, alone with their own thoughts. I know, you don't want to hear it, because being alone with yourself is uncomfortable as hell. It's why you keep the TV on, why you scroll your phone the second you have a free minute, why you stay busy all the damn time. Because when it gets quiet, when there's nothing between you and your own mind, you have to face what's actually going on in there. The Stoics understood this better than anybody. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, spent time every day sitting with his own thoughts, writing them down, examining his own character. Not because he was weak, because he understood that a man who can't be alone with himself will never be at peace anywhere. So here's your first assignment, and it's going to suck. Spend time alone, real alone. No distractions, no phone, no TV, no music. Just you and silence. Start with 10 minutes. Sit in your garage, your truck, wherever. Don't meditate if that's not your thing. Don't force yourself to think positive thoughts. Just sit there and let whatever's in there come up. The anxiety, the sadness, the regret, the shame, the fear. Let it all come to the surface. This is like cleaning out a wound. It hurts like hell, but it's necessary. You can't heal what you won't feel. And here's what you're going to discover. Most of the stuff you've been running from isn't as scary as you thought. It's just there. Feelings, thoughts, memories. They only have power when you're trying to outrun them. When you turn around and face them, when you sit with them, they start to lose their grip. This is the foundation of everything else we're going to talk about, because you can't build real connections with other people if you can't first connect with yourself. And you can't connect with yourself if you're constantly running. Think of it like this. You can't build a house on ground you've never surveyed. You gotta know what you're working with first. The solid spots, the weak spots, the places that need reinforcement. Your inner world is the same way. You gotta know what's actually there before you can start building something stable. It won't be comfortable. Growth never is. But comfort isn't what you need right now. You need truth. And truth starts with being able to sit still long enough to find it. Once you've spent some time with yourself, once you've started to see what's actually under the hood, the next step is the scariest one, letting someone else see it too. This is where most guys bail, because we've been conditioned to believe that authenticity is weakness, that showing your real self is basically handing someone a loaded gun and hoping they don't pull the trigger. But here's what nobody tells you. The armor you're wearing to protect yourself is the same thing that's keeping you isolated. Think about medieval armor. Yeah, it protects you in battle, but you can't swim in it, can't move freely, can't feel another person's touch through steel plates. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you separate. Your emotional armor works the same way. All those defense mechanisms, the jokes that deflect, the stoicism that never cracks, The aggression that keeps people at a distance. The people-pleasing that makes you whatever others want. They're keeping you safe, but they're also keeping you alone. Real connection requires taking some of that armor off. Not all of it, not with everyone, but with somebody, with at least one person who you're willing to let see what's underneath. And I'm not talking about trauma dumping on some poor soul who asked how you're doing. I'm talking about finding someone, a friend, a brother, maybe a counselor if that's what it takes, and practicing being real with them. Start small. Tell them something true. Hey man, I've been struggling with feeling disconnected lately. See what happens. Chances are they'll either open up to, or they'll respect you for your honesty. And if they don't, if they mock you or dismiss you, then you just learned something valuable about who not to invest in. Because here's the hard truth, not everyone deserves access to your real self. Some people are still so armored up themselves that they can't handle vulnerability. They'll weaponize it or minimize it or make it about them. But some people, the right people, will meet you there. They'll see your honesty and match it. They'll see your humanity and honor it. And those are the people worth building with. Authenticity is like a filter. It scares away the wrong people and attracts the right ones. Yes, you'll lose some connections, the surface level ones, the ones that were never real anyway. But what you'll gain, real, mutual, honest relationships, is worth 1,000 fake friendships. You don't need 100 people who know your mask. You need 3 people who know your face. Start there. Find one. Take off a piece of the armor. See what happens. The loneliness won't end overnight, but it starts to ease when you let yourself be seen. Let's talk about something our culture gets completely backwards. The idea that more relationships equals less loneliness. It doesn't. You know what's lonelier than being alone? Being surrounded by 100 people who don't actually know you. That's not connection. That's just noise. We've been sold this idea that a good life means a full social calendar. Lots of friends, big network, active social life. And sure, for some people that works. But for a lot of us, especially men who are more introverted or just deeper thinkers, that's exhausting and empty. You don't need more people in your life. You need better people in your life. Think about building a deck. You don't want 1,000 cheap 2x4s that'll warp and crack under pressure. You want a dozen solid beams that'll hold weight for decades. Your relationships are the same way. One friend who actually knows you, who you can call when things get dark, who won't judge you for struggling, that's worth more than 50 acquaintances who'd ghost you the second you stop being useful or entertaining. This is about being intentional, about choosing quality over quantity, about investing your limited time and energy into relationships that actually feed your soul instead of just filling your calendar. So here's what that looks like practically. Stop trying to maintain relationships that drain you. Stop forcing friendships with people you have nothing in common with just because you've known them a long time. Stop showing up to events you hate just to prove you have a social life. Instead, identify the people in your orbit who make you feel more like yourself, not less. The ones you don't have to perform for, the ones who call you on your bullshit but also have your back, the ones who understand silence and don't need you to entertain them. Those are your people. Invest there, and if you look around and realize you don't have anyone like that, then your job is to find them. Join something that actually interests you, not for networking, but because you're genuinely curious. A woodworking class, a hiking group, a volunteer gig, somewhere you can meet people while doing something meaningful. Because the best friendships don't form in bars or at forced social events. They form in the trenches, in shared work, in common purpose, and they form slowly, which means you need patience. You need to be willing to show up consistently, to invest time without expecting immediate returns. Real relationships are like old-growth timber. They take years to develop, but once they're established, they can weather any storm. Stop collecting acquaintances. Start cultivating real friendships. The loneliness you feel doesn't need a crowd to fix it. It needs depth. It needs truth. It needs a few solid people who actually give a damn. Build that. The rest is just decoration. Here's where we separate loneliness from solitude, because they're not the same thing at all. Loneliness is a state of lack. It's feeling disconnected, unseen, isolated even when you're around people. It's painful. It's what we've been talking about this whole time. Solitude is a state of choice. It's being alone without being lonely. It's finding peace in your own company. And brother, if you can learn this, it changes everything. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca wrote about the importance of withdrawing from the crowd to hear your own thoughts. Epictetus taught that your peace shouldn't depend on other people being around. Marcus Aurelius learned to find tranquility in his own mind, even in the chaos of ruling an empire. They weren't saying you should be a hermit. They were saying you should be able to be alone without falling apart, that you should be able to enjoy your own company, that your well-being shouldn't be entirely dependent on other people's presence. Because here's what happens when you can't be alone. You become needy. You seek validation constantly. You make decisions based on what others think instead of what you know to be true. You compromise yourself to avoid being by yourself. That's not strength. That's dependency dressed up as social success. Real strength is being able to sit in your garage on a Saturday night, working on a project or just thinking and feeling content. Not because you don't want connection, you do, but because you don't need it, like oxygen. Your worth isn't determined by how many people are around you. This is the practice. Learn to enjoy your own company. Find activities you can do alone that actually fulfill you. Read, build something, go for a long drive, sit on your porch and watch the world go by. Whatever it is, do it intentionally. Do it without your phone. Do it without the need to document it or share it. Just be with yourself. And yeah, at first it'll be uncomfortable, maybe even painful, because you'll have to face everything you've been using noise and people to avoid. But push through, because on the other side of that discomfort is something incredible. Self-sufficiency, not in the toxic "I don't need anyone" way. That's just another form of armor. But in the healthy, I'm okay whether I'm alone or with others way. When you have that, relationships stop being about filling a void and start being about sharing abundance. You connect with people because you want to, not because you need them to make you feel whole. You become like a well that's already full. When someone comes along, you have something to give. You're not just a dry hole looking to take. Solitude teaches you that. Make friends with it. All right, we've covered a lot of ground, torn down some walls, looked at some uncomfortable truths. Now let's talk about what you're building with all this. Because the goal here isn't just to understand why you feel alone. It's to build a life where that feeling doesn't control you anymore, where you have both the connections you need and the inner strength to stand on your own. Think of it like building a house. You need a solid foundation before you can raise the walls. Everything we've talked about, sitting with yourself, facing your shadow, taking off the armor, choosing quality relationships, learning solitude, that's all foundation work. It's not glamorous, nobody sees it, but without it, everything else collapses. So what does that foundation actually look like when it's built? It looks like this. You wake up and you know who you are. Not who you're supposed to be, not who others expect you to be, but who you actually are. Your values, your principles, your boundaries. You've done the work to figure that out. You have a few people in your life who really know you. Not hundreds, not dozens, but a few solid relationships built on honesty and mutual respect. People you can call, people who call you, people who see you, and vice versa. You can be alone without spiraling. You can spend a weekend by yourself and feel peaceful instead of panicked. You can sit with your thoughts without needing to escape them. You show up authentically in most situations, not recklessly. You still have discernment about who gets access to what, but you're not constantly performing. You're not exhausting yourself trying to be someone you're not. And most importantly, your sense of worth comes from within, not from external validation. You know your value isn't determined by how many friends you have, how busy your social calendar is, or how much people praise you. It comes from living in alignment with your principles. That's the foundation. That's what you're building toward. And here's the thing. Once you have that foundation, the loneliness you used to feel in crowded rooms starts to fade. Not because the rooms changed, but because you changed. You're not looking for others to complete you anymore. You're whole on your own, and connection becomes a bonus instead of a necessity. Does this mean you'll never feel lonely again? No. Loneliness is part of the human experience, but it won't devastate you the way it used to. It'll be a signal, not a crisis, a reminder to reach out, to connect, to check in with yourself. But it won't define you. That's freedom, brother. That's the prize at the end of all this work. Now let's bring it home. So, here we are. You know the paradox now. You understand the masks and the shadows. You've got the tools. You know the work that needs to be done. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Because I can lay all this out for you, but until you actually take action, it's just information, and information without action is just entertainment. You can nod along to all of this, feel good about getting it, and then go right back to scrolling your phone and wondering why nothing changes. Don't do that. Start small, but start somewhere. Today, pick one thing from everything we've talked about and do it, just one. Sit alone for 10 minutes with your thoughts. Send a text to someone you've been meaning to connect with. Tell someone one honest thing about how you're actually doing. Spend an evening in solitude doing something you enjoy. Work on identifying one part of your shadow you've been avoiding. Just one thing. Build from there, because this isn't a one-and-done deal. This is a practice. This is showing up for yourself every day and doing the work even when, especially when, it's uncomfortable. Even when you don't feel like it. Even when it seems easier to just put the mask back on and go through the motions. The silent struggle you've been feeling, that loneliness in crowded rooms, it doesn't have to be your permanent state. It's not a life sentence. It's a signal that something needs to change, and you're the only one who can change it. Nobody's coming to save you, brother. No perfect friend is going to fall into your lap. No magical relationship is going to fix what's broken inside. No amount of likes or follows is going to fill that void. But you can do this work. You can build that foundation. You can learn to be with yourself and with others in a way that's real, that's honest, that's sustainable. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, but it'll be worth it. Because on the other side of this work is a version of you that doesn't feel like a ghost in your own life. A version that can be alone without being lonely. A version that has real, deep connections with people who matter. A version that knows who he is and doesn't apologize for it. That's the man you're capable of becoming. Now go build him. And hey, if this resonated with you, drop a comment below. Let me know what you're struggling with or what's working for you. We're all in this together. And if you want more of this kind of straight talk, subscribe. This is just the beginning. Stay strong, stay honest, stay building.